I'm also a digital entrepreneur. And every Friday, I come to share my thoughts on the spiritual side of success. Success is both physical and spiritual. And if you know about it and you're able to walk in it, then you can also be successful. You're welcome. You could put on the chat where you are connecting with us from. I really like to know where you are connecting with us from so that, we would know where exactly you are. I'm connecting from Ogun State here in Nigeria. It's in the southwestern part of Nigeria. And I want to welcome you. I can see Kate from Wales. You are welcome. So today, the topic is his ways are not our ways. That's the topic today. His ways are not our ways. And I'm going to be reading from Exodus chapter 2, verse 1 to 10. Exodus chapter 2, verse 1 to 10. So EX, a very simple way to write Exodus. Okay, so that's Exodus 2, 1 to 10. Exodus 2, 1 to 10. So that's what we're sharing from today. I welcome you all. And there went a man of the house of Levi and took to wife a daughter of Levi. And the woman conceived and bare a son. And when she saw him that he was a godly child, she hid him 3 months. And when she could no longer hide him, she took for him an ark of a bulrush and dabbed it with slime and with pitch, and put the child therein, and she laid it in the flags by the river's brink. And his sister stood afar off to wit what would be done to him. And the daughter of Pharaoh came down to wash herself at the river, and her maidens walked along by the riverside. And when she saw the ark among the flags, she sent her maid to fetch it. Verse 6. And when she had opened it, she saw the child, and behold, the babe wept. And she had compassion on him and said, this is one of the Hebrews' children. Then said his sister to Pharaoh's daughter, shall I go and call to thee a nurse of the Hebrew women, that she may nurse the child for thee? And Pharaoh's daughter said to her, go. And the maid went and called the child's mother. And Pharaoh's daughter said unto her, take this child away and nurse it for me, and I will give thee thy wages. And the woman took the child and nursed it. And the child grew, and she brought him unto Pharaoh's daughter, and he became a son. And she called his name Moses. And she said, because I drew him out of the water. So, ladies and gentlemen, today we're looking at this part in the book of Exodus. Let me give you a prelude to this. The Israelites had moved to Egypt, and they were doing very fine. They had moved at a time that Joseph was the prime minister. And after the Pharaoh that knew Joseph died, a new Pharaoh came that didn't know Joseph. And so he saw the Israelites in the land of Goshen multiplying, increasing, prospering, flourishing. And he told himself, if I allow this to continue, these people will be so great and mighty that they will take over our land. And so he instituted it that any male child that is born must be killed. And so because of that, every male child that was born, they started killing them. But there was this woman, a daughter of Levi, and a man who had a child. And, they hid the child because once they see the child, that's the Egyptians, then they will kill the child. So they hid the child as much as they could. And for 3 months, they were able to keep the child from being exposed. But about the 3rd month, they just knew that, there was no way they could continue this way. And the mother thought of an idea. What do I do? I'm not going to allow them kill my child. I'm going to take a risk. And what was that risk she was going to take? The risk was that she got a basket. She lined it in, with materials that could prevent the basket from sinking. And then she placed the child reluctantly in it and let the child, go on the river. That's probably River Nile, which is one of those great rivers. And I'm happy I've visited Egypt and the Nile before. And so that was where the child was. And as far as she was concerned, she had given up hope. But you see, hope is one of those things we need to hold on to, especially in difficult situations. And that's why I say today, his ways are not our ways. God's ways are not our ways. And so when this woman came to her wit's end, when she came to a situation that, all hope was lost, and she placed that child in that basket and walked away, as far as she was concerned, it was all over. But you see, when you are someone of faith, when your human strength fails, that is when God now shows up, in the situation. And at that same time, Pharaoh's daughter came to the river. And of course, as royalty, she came with her entourage of maids. And then, as she got into the river, she eventually was able to see, the basket. And when she moved near, she saw a male child. And she was like, wow, this is one of the Hebrew children. The natural thing she should have done was to have killed that child, because there was already an existing law set by her father that all Hebrew sons should be killed. So she was aware of that. And yet her heart melted for that child. She had compassion on him. Compassion is emotion in action. So her emotion went, and then she took action. And what did she say? In fact, before she spoke, Moses' sister, who had been watching from afar, now came to, Pharaoh's daughter and told her, should I help you get a maid that can take care of this child? And Pharaoh's daughter said yes. And you know what the child did? She went to call her mom, who happens to be Moses' mother, and, Moses' mother came. Can you imagine that? And then Pharaoh's daughter handed over Moses to his mother, and then also promised her to give her a wage for taking care of her own son. When I read that, story of recent, I just could imagine how wonderful God could be. Imagine a woman who had lost hope, of seeing her child again. As far as she was concerned, this child was dead. And yet, situations and circumstances worked in her favor, and that same child was handed over to her, not only to take care of, but to be paid for taking care of her own son. I don't know how that comes across to you, but that just shows me that there is nothing too difficult or impossible for God to do. And so you may be in a difficult situation. You may be in a challenging situation. You may be in a distressed situation. Can you call upon God to come and help you out? Can you cry unto him in that situation and seek for help? Because he's our ever-present help in times of difficulties. Or do you just throw your hands in the air and say, oh, it's all over? This situation is gonna, destroy me. This situation is gonna kill me. Oh, this situation, I can't survive from it. Most times, the reason we don't succeed in what we do is because we are quick to confess negative things. And when you confess the negative, all you are doing is that you are sowing seeds. And I will say this many times. When you sow a seed, that seed will ultimately germinate. All that seed is waiting for is the right milieu, the right environment. So words are seeds. And anytime you drop those words, either negative or positive, they're gonna germinate. And so why don't you fill your heart and your life with positive words? Why don't you fill your situation and circumstance with words that have power to transform them and make them come to life? Why do you always say those negative words, those swear words, those words that does not make your spirit to come up, but rather, it pushes your spirit down? Why don't you turn around your situation by speaking life onto that situation? A lot of people, they speak death onto their situation. And then they wonder, how come there is no life around me? It's all in your word. And as you keep speaking the positive one into that situation, his ways are not our ways. Then you see things turn around, even for your good. So I don't know what challenging situation you might be in. It might be a situation that you feel, I can't survive this situation. But let me assure you that his ways are definitely not our ways. I'll share one of the stories I wrote in my book, Knocked Down But Not Out, to describe one of those situations. I remember years back, when I was preparing for my exams. Then I was in secondary school. And, I'd done everything to get ready. And my goal was to have just 7 distinctions. And so I'd put in the shifts, I'd prayed also, because I'm someone who knows that on my own, I can do nothing. So I've done all I could do physically, and I've also prayed, that I should succeed. But somehow along the way, I lost my dad just before the exams. And that, got my head totally turned, upside down. And I couldn't compose myself to be able to do what I had prepared to do. And I remember that day I was in the exam hall. I was writing and canceling, writing and canceling, writing and canceling. And I just barely struggled to be able to put, my thoughts down in words. And that was it. The exam was done. After that, I picked up and I was able to do the other exams. But, somewhere in my mind, anytime I reflected on that exam, I will always tell myself that I'd failed that paper. And that paper happened to be physics, one of the very important papers as a science student. But I kept praying and I kept hoping against hope, as they will say. And I kept believing God that there was nothing he could not do, even though it was mentally, difficult, because, I knew what I had written. And I knew that based on what I had written, the natural result was a failure. But I kept, hoping against hope, as we call it, and kept praying and kept believing God that with him, all things are possible. And then lo and behold, the results came out. I had 7 distinctions as I had planned to, but I did 8 papers. The 8th paper I did, was economics. And it was only in economics that I had a pass. In all others, I had a distinction. So I ended up having 7 distinctions as I had, envisioned I would. And instead of having a pass in physics where I did badly, somehow, I had a pass in economics. And I'm telling you till tomorrow, I don't know how it happened, but all I know is that God made a way where there seems to be no way. And so his ways are not our ways. If only we can trust him, if only, we can believe him and rely upon him to help us. So I don't know what you may be passing through. I don't know what may look impossible, what tasks may look daunting to you. Let me assure you that with God, nothing shall be impossible. And that was how from, that story we read today in Exodus 2, that Moses eventually became the daughter of Pharaoh, the son of Pharaoh's, daughter. So Moses became a grandchild of Pharaoh. And eventually, in years to come, this same Moses led the Israelites out of Egypt, rebelling against Pharaoh, that was his grandfather, just to fulfill God's purpose. So a man that should have been dead after being born, in years to come, he eventually, led his people out of slavery into, what God had promised them. What are the odds of that happening? Very, very remote. But with God, nothing shall be impossible. So I want to encourage you to put your trust in God today. And that situation that appears impossible can become possible. Just before I round up, let me use this opportunity to inform you that I've written a book, Knocked Down But Not Out. You'll be able to learn a lot of things by reading this book. You'll be able to see how I overcame different challenges I had in life by trusting in God and knowing that his ways are not our ways. And if you are here, you would like to join our academy, The link is in the bio. Just click on it and join our Telegram group, where you'll be able to learn quite a number of things as it relates to financial education. And if you want to join us in our Forex trading, more information will be provided for you in the group. It's been a good time to see you all. And before we go, let me use this opportunity to say a happy birthday to my elder brother, someone, that we did childhood together. We did all the wrestling together. We did all the bike race together. We also read for exams together. And we did all the fighting together also. My brother, Adekunle Oladapo Onadipe, I want to say happy birthday to you. And I want to wish you God's blessings, goodness, and guidance all through your life. Have a blessed birthday tomorrow, being the 13th day of the month of September. I love you, and I wish you all the very best. And so that's how today's session will be. Just before I go, let me read some of the comments. Having read your book and learning of your achievements, it gives me great hope that if I keep a positive mind, something will turn up if things are not going well. Absolutely awesome. You are a great role model for everyone to have faith. Thank you. I really appreciate. I hope your brother has a wonderful day. Thank you very much. Thank you to each and every one of you. And I look forward to seeing you at the top. For you know what we say, the bottom is way too crowded. Have a wonderful weekend. Bye-bye.